You know that simple pill sitting in your medicine cabinet? It looks so small, right? So ordinary. But believe me, the story of how it got to you is anything but simple. It's this massive, global saga of science, logistics, and economics. A journey with more twists and turns than you could possibly imagine. So, let's trace that map together.
Yeah, take a look. Every single one of these little capsules, it represents a truly colossal effort. We're talking about a super complex, multi-layered system that involves thousands of people, that crosses borders, and it has to navigate some incredible challenges, all just to deliver one tiny but super effective product. So the question is, how does this incredible journey actually work? What are the key stops along the way? Who are the people making it all happen? Well, that's what we're going to do right now. We're about to trace the entire route from the moment it's created right up to the moment it's in your hand.
All right, so our journey begins, but maybe not where you'd think. We're not starting on a shipping dock or in a warehouse. Nope, we're starting in a highly controlled, totally sterile environment. This is where the medicine is actually born, and let me tell you, the rules are strict from the very first second.
Okay, so before a single ingredient even gets mixed, everything, and I mean everything, is governed by this set of rules called CGMP, or Current Good Manufacturing Practices. The easiest way to think about it, it's like the ultimate quality control Bible for making medicine. It's enforced by regulators like the FDA, and these rules are completely non-negotiable. The whole point is to make sure every single pill is made safely and consistently, to minimize any possible risk to patients.
And this right here captures the reality of modern pharmaceutical manufacturing. This isn't just some regular factory floor. It's basically a laboratory. And just getting to this stage, it requires a massive, massive investment. We're talking about companies spending something like 6 to 7% of their entire revenue on research and development alone. I mean, that's the price you pay for innovation.
But get this, even with the perfect formula and a facility that's totally state-of-the-art, you can't just flip a switch and start production. No way. Manufacturers have to run what's basically a regulatory gauntlet. First, they submit this huge application, which then gets pored over by committees of experts. Then, that's often followed by inspectors coming to the facility, on-site, to make sure every single thing is up to code. It's only after passing all of those checks that they finally get the green light to go ahead.
All right, so the pill is made, it's approved, it leaves that pristine, clean room, and enters the wild world of logistics. But this is not a simple A to B delivery, not even close. It's more like a really complex, multi-layered maze.
You see, that pill is going to pass through a whole lot of hands. It starts with the manufacturer, then it goes to a CNF agent, that's a carrying and forwarding agent. From there, it goes to a super stockist. That super stockist then supplies a whole network of smaller distributors or sub-stockists, and they're the ones who finally get it to your local pharmacy or hospital. Every single step here is a critical link in a very, very long chain.
So you might be wondering, okay, but how does this system get medicine to more rural, remote areas? Well, this is where it gets pretty smart. They use what's called a hub-and-spoke model. Just picture it. The super stockist acts as the central warehouse. That's the hub. And they ship out to lots of smaller distributors. Those are the spokes. Those spokes can then cover all the scattered towns and villages. It's actually a really clever way to tackle a huge geographical challenge.
But like any maze, this one is full of traps, and the financial stakes are absolutely enormous. Just to give you an idea, in India alone, the estimated loss from medicine that simply expires before it can be used is over $300 million. That is a staggering amount of waste, and it's just one of the many, many risks in this supply chain.
And one of the single biggest challenges? Temperature. So many modern medicines, especially things like vaccines and complex biologics, are incredibly fragile. They have to be kept within a really precise temperature range for their entire journey. This is what's known as the cold chain, and maintaining it requires specialized trucks, special storage, constant monitoring, all of which adds a huge layer of cost and complexity to the whole process.
Oh, and the roadblocks don't stop there, not by a long shot. You've got to deal with things like inadequate roads or rail networks, unreliable power supplies that can suddenly break that fragile cold chain. And then there's just a simple lack of visibility. Sometimes you just don't know exactly where a product is at any given moment. Every single one of these issues just piles on more risk and more cost to the pill's journey.
Okay, so our little pill has survived the factory floor and the distribution maze. Now it reaches a really crucial turning point, the doctor's office. This is the moment where the final decision gets made about which specific medicine a patient is actually going to get.
So what's really going through a doctor's mind when they're writing out that prescription? Well, a survey of 500 doctors in India gives us a pretty clear answer. For the majority of them, we're talking over half, the combination of a medicine's quality and its price is the single most likely factor that's going to influence their decision.
And a recent study really put it perfectly. Doctors, at the end of the day, will simply not compromise on quality just to get a lower price. Why? Because their number one responsibility is the patient's well-being. That makes the medicine's effectiveness the absolute top priority, period.
But it's interesting. The decision-making process isn't always the same. It kind of depends on the medicine. So for established drugs that have been around for a while, yeah, things like price and maybe the doctor's relationship with the sales rep can play a role. But when we're talking about the very latest, brand new, innovative treatments, the conversation shifts completely. It becomes all about the science, the clinical trial data, the safety profiles, and just how much better it is than what's already out there.
And what that really means is, while marketing and those sales relationships have their place in the industry, they really do take a backseat when a truly innovative new drug comes along. For cutting-edge medicine, the data has to speak for itself. Doctors want to see the research, they want to see the proof that it actually works.
Okay, we've seen how the pillow's made, how it's distributed, and how it gets prescribed. And all of this leads us to the big question, the one everyone always has. Why does medicine cost what it costs? Let's decode that final price tag.
Think about it. When you stand at the pharmacy counter and pay for that prescription, where does your money actually go? Well, it gets split up between all the different players we've just met on this journey. But how exactly is it divided? Let's break it down. So based on an average from India, here's how it generally splits out. The lion's share, about 2/3 or 67%, goes back to the manufacturer. That has to cover all that R&D we talked about, the manufacturing, and of course their profit. Then, about 19% is the margin for all the distributors and retailers, the folks who get the pill to you. And that final 14%? That goes to taxes and import charges. So the key thing to remember is that the price you pay is covering this entire complex journey, not just the cost of making the pill itself.
You know, this whole complicated journey has pretty much worked this way for decades. But now, technology is on the verge of shaking everything up. So let's take a look at what the future might hold. The future of this supply chain is without a doubt digital. There's this huge wave of new technologies coming and is aiming to solve the very challenges we've been talking about, from waste and inefficiency to that lack of transparency. The goal is to transform every single link in the chain.
I mean, just imagine this for a second. You could have blockchain creating a perfectly transparent, secure ledger to track a drug's every single move. You could have IoT sensors, Internet of Things, monitoring temperature in real time, basically eliminating those cold chain failures. Robotics could bring incredible precision and efficiency to manufacturing. And you could even have 3D printing, creating personalized medicine doses on demand for every single patient. The potential for change here is just immense.
And all of this brings us to our final big question. As all these powerful new technologies start getting integrated into the system, will they actually streamline this great journey? Will they make it more efficient and maybe even more affordable for all of us? Or will they just add new layers of technological complexity to a maze that's already pretty baffling? The truth is, the next chapter of this incredible story is still being written.